I was about to do a bad Joker laugh, but I caught myself, thank goodness. Hey everybody, welcome back to Is It Kino, the People's Joker Edition! Biggs, let's hear your laugh. Okay, and Eggy's laugh.
I'm gonna go in the theme of the movie, because this is more like what I think you would sound like getting electrocuted.
It's like the old Goofy cartoon from like the 1940s, like, oh!
I could not stand that laugh.
You don't like that one?
No. Every time they did it, I'm like, why?
It's that one and the Wilhelm scream that they do over and over, and they're probably both actually in this movie.
Probably.
Eggy, why on the 4th of 20th, 420, over in Austria, they call it Smokey McPlant Day. Why did you force me and Biggs and our lovely new lady friends to go see this film, Eggy?
Well, I was walking down the street and I saw this promotional poster getting ripped down by copyright enforcement. And I turned into the Soy Jack cartoon and I said, OMG, sissa. And then everybody clapped. And then I said, you know what? I need to go get empowered right about now. This movie, basically, it's more like an audio-visual manifesto. And if there's anybody that can appreciate a good one of those, it's me. So I'm really glad that I forced decent people to be taken to, frankly, a small zoo.
Yeah. Oh my God.
That's putting it lightly.
So this is the infamous copyright potentially infringing film about transgender people, I guess, reclaiming the Joker and other Batman villains for themselves for the purposes of retelling the stories of how they were groomed and molested as children, and then how they became trans because of that. Oddly enough, of the two trans stories we hear, I think both of them have that same trajectory in the film, so thumbs up to the trans people. But Biggs, this is a movie about coming to terms with your gender dysphoria and discovering the true you that you harbor deep within. And we haven't talked about this, Biggs, but back in high school, you did confess to me that you were experiencing gender dysphoria and you thought you might have been a woman. So I thought it'd be appropriate to have you on this review.
Yeah, well, there was a few things that caused that, So at the time, as a growing boy, in school, I began to look at myself when I got out of the shower. I'm like, man, I have rather large breasts for a man.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be dysphoric as well. It's got to be very confusing. I'm not really sure
what's going on here. So that was one thing. And then the other thing is, the first time I watched Donnie Darko, and I see Jake Gyllenhaal, and I'm like, I'm having some feelings for this guy that I probably shouldn't as a man, right?
Yeah, because you didn't know that being gay was a thing, so you thought, well, I must have to be a girl, because only boys and girls can be kissing.
Yeah, I was like, getting a little worked up looking at Jake Gyllenhaal in that movie. So I was like, oh man, this has got to be, some female feelings coming up. So. And
when did you realize that you're not a trans jester and that you're just a normal?
When I came to terms with the fact that those feelings were only for him.
You're only trans for Jake.
Yes. Yep. And I thought I told you all this in confidence, but apparently
you shouldn't have been too confident about that. Big mistake.
Emphasis on big.
What about you, Eggy? Did you have a sexual awakening watching Jake Gyllenhaal?
Well, I think it was really, I went back to sleep because I was looking at TV and it was the year 2003 and Jake Gyllenhaal was all sucking on man face on TV and winning Oscars, or maybe it was 2005, whatever the year that was. And I said, it's not good, adolescent tubes. But I guess you could say Maggie Gyllenhaal, maybe I thought I was gay because I looked at her and I was like, well, I looked at him like, I don't know, like objectively speaking, objectively an attractive woman, but I don't know, she kind of looks like, I don't know, there's just something off. Like, you put me in a room with her, I probably wouldn't make eye contact very well. But then I realized, I don't know, she just kind of was giving me off vibes. She didn't pass the vibe check.
I would assume Jake got all of the attractive genes in the family, and that's why she's kind of like a hollow husk of an attractive person.
Yeah, there's a reason why the the makers of BoJack Horseman made her Maggot Gyllenhaal.
True. Eggy, we reviewed the movie Bros with our dear friend Florian, and now we're reviewing The People's Joker with Biggs. So the experience of this is the gay man's manifesto put to film, advocating for children to be in the presence of naked gay men during stage productions. That was really like the thesis statement of that film. This is like the transgender version of that, right? Like, we're evolving as a society. We gave the gays rights and the floodgates opened. Now we're getting transgender Joker movies. What do you think the thesis statement of this film is, Eggy?
Well, to be honest, I thought it was very legitimate and very tracking with everything that I've ever heard before. So basically, once again, just like Bros, the first good portion of this film is just the main character having their manifesto about why everything they do is actually lay good and how everybody else is wrong. So the main character has explains their formative years, and the child actor that they use for some reason appears to be possibly like South Asian or something. He's got a little bit of an admixture that the main character Zir Self does not actually possess. But what the similarity is that this child actor is actually legitimately autistic. So I think that was an important part of the representation. And then basically goes on to say that they watched, due to the media they consumed as a child, it basically started warping their mind and made them believe things. And I said, hey, that sounds an awful lot like what I've heard online. Basically, an autistic child who is socially maligned and starts living mentally inside fantasy media, and then starts like absorbing it, and it becomes their personality. I mean, shout out to the city of Quickville, you dig what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So speaking of which, I think Chris Chan was actually in the crowd in the front row for our screening. So I thought that was a nice touch for, the ambiance. But yeah, I think more true to reality in that form than I was expecting it to be. I guess I didn't know what to expect, but I was like, yeah, I've heard that in all these different YouTube videos over the years, different people's experiences.
Yeah, it is basically like a watered down version of every depression chamber story I've ever read from a trans person. And maybe that's why the film was so ineffective to me, and why so many idiots are giving this fucking 5 stars on Letterboxd like it's some revolutionary new thing that they made a shitty fucking green screened YouTube video and stretched it out to 95 minutes and they called it a fucking movie. But the story in here of the trans creator's real life account of my mom Lay thinks I'm a lay boy. Oh man, what a rough life you live. The standard trans experience put to film. Yeah, there's really nothing unique there.
So for me, I feel like this movie probably did the opposite of what they were trying to do. At least for most, I would say, trans activists, trying to get you to see from their viewpoint, like, oh, I feel like I was born this way and I just came to realize it later in life. But to me, this movie really kind of nailed down the nurture side of nature versus nurture, where it's like their surroundings and the environment they're in and what they're intaking, the entertainment stuff that they're intaking is kind of what led them down that path of life choice. I felt like the movie convinced me that they weren't born that way, that it was something that they kind of came to through the media they were consuming. I feel like
well, so the example, and most of these examples are tied to Batman in some way, and the trans narrator of the film says as a kid they watched one of the Batman movies and there's something with bat nipples. Basically, Batman's kissing a chick, and the future trans child thought, most boys probably wanted to be Batman, but in that scene I wanted to be the girl kissing Batman. And I feel like if they're born that way, maybe that's they're not being influenced by the media necessarily. But to jump from I want to kiss a boy and I'm gay all the way to actually I'm just a girl who wants to kiss boys, that might have been a bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, it's their decision that they were coaxed into a snafu by somebody who... It's the movie really wants to showcase the cycle of abuse in this community, where this person is just gender dysphoric and not trans, but then they get into a relationship with somebody who is recently trans, who gets them all the medication and shit illegally, because of course they do. And of course, they themselves only got into it because they were in an abusive relationship with somebody old enough to be their dad while they were a teen. So it's just hurt people hurting other people.
And, when you mentioned that about the abusive partner who got into a relationship with an older person, I think it's good to highlight here that that's actually Batman. So the movie, although it's just a parody and it's not copyright infringing, it does make the case that allegedly Batman adopted like a homeless orphan female and then basically just went all in, tried to give her that...
Paid for her transition to become a boy and was still trying to have that Batcave fun, if you know what I'm saying.
That Rob Bussy, if you will.
Yeah, Robin Bussy.
Anyways, it stands now canonically in the Batman universe that Batman's into that, because I don't think I've heard Batman dispute this since this movie was released. So, just for the audience to be aware of.
But I did like that the narrator points out, hey, you always hear about abuse in Hollywood, in Hollywood movies. Abusive couples is always like some big meathead guy. But no, a 90-pound trans boy/girl can be an abuser too. And I stood up and clapped and said, that's right. That's fucking right. It's not always guys like me and Eggy and Biggs bullying the women out there. It's just most of the time.
Yeah, and then the audience got up and clapped that you were clapping. They were so proud of you.
Yeah, let's talk about the audience, Biggs, because this was at the same theater that our short film, Taste of Defeat, played at. So far, the only things that I've seen at this theater are horribly amateurish dog shit, like 2 for 2, our film and that one, or this one. And I think every single trans person in Iowa was in attendance at this 20-seat theater up in a loft above the main theater. It was like a back row of us cis people here to mock the film, but then we quickly became surrounded by all the LGBT.
Yeah, like when I went to buy the tickets after you told me like where you guys got tickets, I looked and it was like your guys' seats were bought and then I bought my 2 seats. And there was like one other purchase. So when I showed up, I was under the assumption we were going to be pretty much the only people in there with maybe one other person. And then the whole theater was full pretty much.
Full of Zers and Zims everywhere.
Granted, there's only like 30 seats in there, but still, I was surprised. But then I generally like my space, and I know going to the movies, people are going to sit next to you. It's kind of going to happen no matter what, especially if it's full. So I was like, okay, somebody's coming and they're sitting next to me, whatever. I scoot over a little bit towards my wife so I'm not crowding them because I am a big fellow,
What?
But this person sits next to me and they decide, I was courteous enough to let them have the armrest. That's fine. But they felt the need to put their arm over the armrest all the way into my side and use me as their armrest for most of the movie. So
he's resting his body parts on a strange man.
Yeah, well, his. One of
you didn't know what it was.
I couldn't tell which way it was transitioned.
Oh my god!
I'm not trying to be mean. I'm really not. But I couldn't tell if it was, male to female, female to male, whatever.
The entire row in front of us, I could not tell who was what, and I didn't even want to pretend to try.
So that really soured my taste for the crowd, for starters. But then when we're watching the movie and they're saying like random people's names, which I guess are probably popular in the trans community, and they all start dying laughing, I don't know.
The things that pleases this community was truly pathetic. We're gonna have to add this to the pathetic list. Like, there's the studio company logos pop up at the beginning of the movie, and one of them just had the word gay in it. And just at the side of the word gay in a production logo, these people fucking started cackling.
Yeah.
Fucking sad and pathetic. Like,
it was quickly going downhill with the amount of laughter at random stupid stuff, and then like random little comments I was hearing. It was just like, this is becoming unbearable. I know I signed up for this kind of movie, but come on.
The filmmaker is surprisingly red-pilled on many topics, and many times Eggy joined in and started clapping and saying, "That's right." Eggy, what are some of these moments that stuck out to you?
Well, let me think.
I think the narrator is aware that many people suffer from Trump derangement syndrome, and she's mocking it at times. Like, she says, "Oh, what's something that'll make these idiots laugh? I know, kafifi." And our audience did laugh at it.
Yeah, I know that was an overarching theme that even like SNL, they call it like queebzo, which I don't know if that's supposed to mean something, but essentially the grand chuddy ownership of all mass media. It's supposed to be some kind of like Fox type thing, but they also own SNL for some reason, which is UBC in this universe.
UBC Live.
Yeah. So
or
I don't
UCB
know,
or something.
but yeah, UCB Live. So there's this great chud control of the media, and so the mass media sheep are ostracized, which is agreeable, but I'm not sure if we would find the same solution were we to sit down at a table and discuss. But let me think. What
didn't they even call them a chud at some point? Like, actually in the movie they called them a chud,
and they used the word incel in the movie.
Oh my word.
Yes, that was actually another point where the audience stood up and clapped, because there's essentially the People's Joker is going to find out how to hack TV to be able to get on and speak a little bit of their manifesto to the world. And they say, well, we got half incels and half transsexuals, so everybody here should have had coding experience. And then all the trans persons in the audience got up and started cheering and laughing for like a minute straight.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I guess I never knew that like programmers and coders were just known to transition, I guess. I didn't know that was
I don't think that's a thing.
You don't know about programmer socks, Biggs?
No.
Yeah, they're like, they come up to your knees and they're like pink with bows. No, but in all seriousness, yeah, anybody who, that's basically two sides of the coin. The coin being the person who hasn't gone outside in years and just sits and consumes media at their computer screen, 20 hours a day, and then possibly reviews it on YouTube. Basically, neither of those persons are having sex. One of them might just, decide to change their style up a little bit too at the same time.
And their gender.
Yeah.
Biggs, other than getting handsy with the audience, did you have any other happy moments in the theater? Like, what did your wife think of the film?
There were a lot of times where she kind of looked at me with like a perplexed look, I guess. Like, am I supposed to be laughing at this? Like everyone else is laughing. But there were other parts that were just, I even laughed at. It was just random out-of-pocket moments that we were just laughing at together. And I think the person next to me at some point might have gotten offended and thought we were making fun of it because they kind of sneered.
Well, we kind of were.
Well, yeah, but I don't know.
Like there was a pressure on me in the theater when I want to make my little "that's rights" to Eggy at inappropriate times, but when every single person in front of me is trans and they're like making suicide jokes in the movie, I probably shouldn't be doing that kind of thing, which they do. Yeah. They love the concept of suicide when it's a police officer committing suicide. That's the funniest thing ever to a trans person, is an officer committing suicide.
Well, don't like 30% of them love suicide?
That's the thing. Maybe they'd be a little more sensitive about this particular topic, but it's very funny to them.
Yeah, I mean, Suicide Cop was funny to me too. I thought that was
but
so out of left field. I was like, "What?"
There's no double standard from us. We love suicide in all regards, and there's no statistics that we are ashamed of.
Yeah, I guess other things that made me happy per se. I don't know. Even though it was like garbage quality, I thought the random CGI moments were really funny, where there's like people, you could tell they're walking in place and the background's moving. I thought it was enjoyable. I don't know.
Yeah, they pull out basically every gimmick and trick in the book of low-budget filmmaking. Like, the film will become different styles of animation at points because they did not want to film an actual sex scene with these actors/actresses. And God bless them, because I didn't want to see these people shirtless myself. So I'm glad they animated that part. Eggy, I know that there were some elements of that you enjoyed.
Yeah, I will say some of it is, truly hard to watch. I hadn't seen anything in a while that was just truly so disconcerting.
It's hideous.
However, with that being said, they change it up kind of enough. It's not just live action green screen to, another green screen cut. They incorporate, and I think this really brought together the kind of YouTube autism that once again made it very legitimized for where this material was coming from. Because all of a sudden then it'll be like a poorly animated Flash cartoon. They got this one character, it's like Poison Ivy, except it's like Trans Ivy or something. I don't know which way it's supposed to be, because the voice of it was obviously taken from like a Discord call, and it's some like British or Australian transgender voice, which just sounds like every poorly done media review that I've had auto recommended to me through YouTube's algorithm. And no matter what, this character is always in this like low poly 3D rendering where it's like really stiff and off-putting, and it always has this soft Discord call voice. It's just really chef's kiss in a way they did not intend for it to be. So,
well, maybe it was intentional. Like, there's a little meta part where they're talking about making their own anti-comedy club, and the main character says, "Yeah, we'll make it bad on purpose, because I would kind of have to." I think it's pointing out how shitty their own movie is.
Mm-hmm. There's points where there's a sort of a juxtaposition of a background against some element of the actors or the props, and they use actual Minecraft gameplay footage. Like, they built the city or whatever the background in Minecraft, and then I think there's something exploding, and they put TNT blocks and had them going off. So I think that the creativity for the low budget did keep it fresh in certain parts for me that I could at least appreciate, considering all the very less appreciable things in the film.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they haven't gotten in trouble yet with some other things too, because I noticed I'm pretty sure they just ripped the 3D model of I think they're, what are they called, like the boomers or exploders from Left 4 Dead. There's like 2 of those in the movie, and it was like an exact rip of the model from the game. And I was like, are they allowed to do that? Just throw it in there? But sure, why not? I guess parody, sure.
They also had the melody for the Rice Krispies Opera Bigs. Do you think the creator might be a fan of the Mumkey and Big show?
They very well could be. Who knows?
They seem terminally online.
Yeah, it would be on par.
They probably have written into the Depression Chamber.
Yeah, what if somewhere in the Depression Chamber's email you just have this entire script somewhere and you don't even know?
I could probably read the script verbatim and nobody would know it's from the movie. They just think it's an email. I don't know, boys. Are there any other things we're forgetting about that stick out? And really, more to the point, should we recommend this to anybody? Because I thoroughly hated it. I thought it was disgusting to look at. And that's not being transphobic. That's just like the entire film was very... it's between Neil Breen and nostalgia critic quality. much closer to Neil Breen than Nostalgia Critic. And this is a theatrical release. Like, any Doug Walker skit is better on every level. The only thing I'll give them credit for is sound. When we watch those short films, the problem with half of them was that the sound was dog shit. You couldn't hear anything. At least everything in this movie I could hear.
Yeah. The other thing I guess I'll say before we kind of give reviews is there's one thing I'll never understand with like this community in particular is like they're all about like inclusivity and trying to get people to understand their point of views, you know, and they want you to respect their lifestyles. But it's like they can't show it to you without being intensely, like, disgustingly sexual about everything. Like,
and particularly nasty in their tone, like very hateful and spiteful to other people.
Yeah, I guess that's just something I'll never understand, and maybe at some point somebody will try and give me like an explanation, but I just don't get it. Like, if you want people to accept your lifestyle, the first thing you talk about shouldn't be like some nasty gay orgy or something, you know?
Yeah. But yeah.
Well, you know, I kind of one thing that I noticed, I think maybe towards the second half of the film, is once Zier Joker is coming into Zier Self's identity, suddenly a lot less clothing being worn. It seemed like there was just sort of some very unsettling sexual like imagery. I mean, I know it's not to a huge degree, but still, like the regular Joker was not doing that. Joker, there's a part where they're going down the Joker stairs and they're like, you know, in this revealing clothing and just kind of like shaking everything all over the place, and then there's like a chase scene after that where the top is not really fitting and Zier exposed a breast at a point. Yeah. Just for like a couple seconds, but then the only reason I remember that is because shortly after, the narrator has like a voiceover addressing children in the audience, which I don't believe there was any children in this audience, thankfully. But
thankfully, yeah.
What else? There was
there's like the random cut to the two animated guys going at it, and there's like butt cheeks on the screen. I don't understand why that needed to be there. I think they literally said like to one of the characters, "Hey, do you want to see these two guys have sex?" And then it just cuts to it.
And they also are under the false impression that nothing is funnier than a dildo. And they're like, yeah, the modern day rubber chicken is a rubber cock. Nothing's funnier than a big fat dildo.
That must be...
I recently saw the lesbian comedy movie Drive Away Dolls, a.k.a. Drive Away Dykes, but they were too scared to put that in the official title, so it's just in the movie, but not, fucking stupid. And that movie also seems to think that there's nothing funnier than dildos. So I guess if you're LGBT, a dildo is just the funniest thing to ever exist.
Well, just look at like the pride parades. They can't help but parade around with like hundreds of them. Like, I don't
Do they think it's a joke? They don't think it's sexual. They think it's funny.
Yeah.
And they're trying to make the kids laugh at it too. Normalize it with humor.
Sure.
Hell yeah, this whole movie was fucking funny, huh?
Yeah.
Really, the movie comes across as the writer, director, star of the film skipped a therapy session and wrote the film instead because it's coping and seething about, oh, my mom doesn't like that I'm trans. I went to New York City and they did not, like, they rejected me for SNL. I bet it's because I'm trans. And, like, the guy who runs SNL is called out by name and, like, murdered in the film and stuff. So, like, this is just somebody coping and seething through a shitty narrative.
Yeah.
I would also like to mention a little bit of behind-the-scenes lore here. The person who voices Lorne Michaels in the film was not the original casted person. They actually filmed all the dialogue, and it was somebody who had worked on SNL. But after they actually saw the movie come together, they requested that they be pulled from the film, so they had to have all that dialogue recorded with some other person. So I thought that was kind of funny.
Any other behind-the-scenes tidbits? Didn't somebody say that this was completely crowdfunded?
Yes, yep. This is also, I believe, the different animations and stuff for these parts. It wasn't even necessarily a stylistic decision. According to the Wikipedia page of this film, those were just where the director said, hey, could somebody animate this happening? And then they just like took random animations, so they got DM'd on Twitter or something, and put them into the film. So yeah, the budget for this film was actually $0. It was all entirely crowdfunded.
Just like every movie I've ever made. Do you concur, Biggs?
I concur.
You concur. I've never paid you 1 penny for anything we've ever made.
You've paid me in friendship.
And exposure. I've exposed you to thousands.
True.
It's enriched your life.
You've exposed me to Eggy.
Yeah, I mean, that's priceless right there.
Yeah.
Who would like to praise the film?
Well, I mean, for me, it's definitely something I would have to recommend people to watch.
Really? Because I would recommend stay the fuck away. What is the redeeming quality of why somebody should waste their precious time on this fucking earth watching this movie?
Well, when you put it that way, there really truly is no good point. But if you're already listening to podcasts, I think you've probably made a measured agreement with life to a point. I would say the reason why I would recommend people to watch this film is that it's hard to come by truly unsettling media these days. And it only really works for me when the director and the writers and everything, they take it so seriously. Like, for them, this is 100% serious on every level. And that's what makes it all the better in being very hard to watch. And I don't think you're going to get such a true, honest... I mean, you basically have essentially the director, who's also the main character, just giving a seething manifesto in a green screen and a filter, so it's supposed to be like, oh, here's me talking to you from some kind of like other dimension while I tell you about how seething I am in my manifesto against this world. And then it cuts to like the autistic child, like being brainwashed by watching too much TV, and then all this other stuff. The YouTubers recording their lines through their Discord voices and their low poly OC renders. I mean, yeah, it's truly just pure distilled autism in a way that's hard to come by, in which case the same kind of appeal that a nostalgia critic film would have. This is just sort of like nostalgia critic. If we were to somehow force all the people in that universe to record another movie with their current thoughts and opinions in the modern day, and they just went full force with this is what I believe, and I still don't even know if it would come close to how unsettling this movie was.
Yeah, I would say the best way to describe this movie is it's like the rawest form of mental illness on film.
That's fair. I mean, they literally want to be the Joker, so I don't think they would necessarily even disagree. And
for recommendation, I would say the only way I could recommend this movie is if you go into it knowing that you're going to be laughing at it and not with it a single second throughout the film.
What if you're a teenage trans child, Biggs, and you need something to inspire you? Go to church?
Yeah, pretty much.
Seek Jesus instead of seeking the film?
Yeah.
Do you think that if this main character just went to church one time, this movie would exist?
I feel like they would have gotten the attention that they were seeking from their mom.
Yeah.
From literally anyone at church.
Biggs, I don't know. You're a married man. You could be a father of a teenager within the next 15 years. What are you going to do when 14-year-old Billy says, actually, I'm Sally, Dad?
Well, there's the trick. You just don't have Billy.
Are you going to do like let's see, how many month abortion would that be? How many trimesters is that at the age of 15? Like 45?
Something like that.
45 trimester abortion on Billy?
No, clearly I would just have to take him in and get him some laughing gas or whatever that stuff was.
Mm-hmm.
It worked out great for them.
Just sit on your child?
Yeah, it's proof whenever you're mentally ill, just go in and get pumped full of drugs. That always helps every time.
Well, Eggy, if Biggs's child was trans, how would you deal with it?
Well, actually, I think this movie would be a great thing to watch. Well, I mean, I can't.
You really want to be like that? Oh, Dad, you're right. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, you pretty much took the words right out of my mouth. I would say maybe not. If there's like an edited version, I mean, the sex scenes were already like literal 2002 Newgrounds Flash cartoon that were, just crowdsourced for free. We'd still cut that to make it, but all right, here's Zier. Here's Zier's role model. It's a audiovisual manifesto about an autistic child that watched Batman and now, 20-some years later is engaged in a legal battle for an unprofitable film where they just seethe over Minecraft footage. Think about it.
Yeah.
How much money are they going to make from this movie?
Probably as much as we spent as a crowd.
Like $12 each?
Yeah.
That's quite a bit.
Yeah, they're at profit. $0 budget. Everything helps.
Yeah.
What do you think that the crowdfunding contributors got? Like a signed poster from the People's Joker herself? Some HRT pills in the mail?
Probably.
They're probably getting that anyway.
Like that.
Now,
I don't know.
we all know and love a great actor. His name is Bob Odenkirk.
Yeah.
Can't get enough of him. So Bob Odenkirk is credited in this film. He's on screen for about 1 second, and I'm not even sure if he actually is shown at all because it just only shows like a costume for 1 second. So maybe it's him, maybe it's not.
I think his voice was used on a character. I don't think he was in it.
The character is Bob the Gooner. And he says like hashtag goon life. That's like his only dialogue is like, I love gooning, hashtag goon life. So that was a time where I stood up in the theater and started applauding, and I think that this character was very on point for the message of the film.
I think
got some representation. Is that why you clapped?
I think the film is using goon in the sense of like a Team Rocket grunt, like a goon for like a henchman. I don't know if they meant like us goofy gooners over here.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they did, but I highly doubt that's what the filmmaker meant.
I definitely think they meant gooner in the sense you're thinking.
And not like jerking off a lot? And shooting out lots of thick, delicious cum?
I thought gooning was the opposite of that.
It is? I thought gooning was when you make a lot of cum. It's when you don't make any?
That's what I thought too, but I was told it wasn't, and that's...
I'm almost happier not knowing. Maybe I'm just a better person that I don't know.
It's basically like another word for people that enjoy edging, I guess.
Yeah, it's just edging?
Yeah.
That's already a word, you fucking Zoomers. We already have that word.
I don't know.
I would like to step in and say that it's really not exactly basically the goon cave, as it were. Essentially, you're stepping into a room, you maybe got like 6 computer screens that each one of those screens is simultaneously playing 2 adult films, and then whatever happens in that room is happening in that room, but basically it's just like the tidal wave of cooming.
Okay.
Interesting.
Well, Biggs, as a married man, thankfully you'll never have to experience that kind of shit again. Congratulations, you won.
My dream would be to have 6 monitors on my PC.
All watching adult pornography, Biggs. My God.
Not for that, but I don't know. 6. You can do a lot with 6 monitors. That's like peak performance.
Oh God.
Just don't go down that slippery slope.
She's gonna walk in on something she don't want to see. Like you watching this movie on one of the monitors, and you keep flicking your eyes to it, stroke to stroke, seeing if it does anything for you. We've all been there.
Yeah.
When this movie comes out on home release, I'll be a goofy gooner. You guys haven't seen nothing yet. Once I can watch this shit at home, fucking Kleenex boxes for days. Am I right, Biggs? You gonna join me side by side on the couch like we used to back in high school?
I feel like this is a good stopping point.
See, that's when you said you had gender dysphoria, is when we were gooning on the couch side by side. Those are the better times, huh, buddy?
To what? Sync tube?
Yeah, what would we have been watching? The videos of a dog being lit on fire and running around barking?
It wouldn't have been your house either. It would have been Chum's.
Chum's basement, yep. Don't you mean Chow?
Yeah,
Chow and his uncle?
Yep.
Yeah. His uncle showed you his ball sack and said it was bubble gum.
I think we've gone past talking about the film now.
Yeah, maybe that's why you were feeling trans, is because you got molested by Chow's uncle, Biggs. We're getting a lot of deep lore today.
Yeah.
Do you have anything you want to plug?
The filmmaker does enjoy talking about child molestation, so...
That seems to be the backstory for the trans characters in the film. Which, you know, it is what it is. Anything you want to plug this week, Biggs?
Not necessarily.
What about the Mumkey and Biggs show? Is that still going?
It's going, yeah.
Who won the Survivor Simulator?
I don't know. Who won?
Oh, you don't remember?
No.
Hopefully somebody from my team, because otherwise I'm going to be number one on the pathetic list. That's probably a bad gambit. 50-50 shot that I'll be fucking like 97 points.
Yeah, I mean, that wouldn't even put you at the top, though. That's...
Yes, it would.
98's at the top.
There's no 98 at the top.
I thought there was a 98.
No.
Well, I have bad memory. We've been through this.
Yeah. Eggy, do you have anything you want to plug?
Well, I would say if you go to theatrical screening, you might want to consider plugging your nostrils. See, for me, I just didn't breathe too deep. Every time there was a joke, the various Ziers and Zems would throw their sort of ratty and thinning hair back in laughter, and sometimes it would land in my lap, and I would kind of just hold my breath for a second. I mean, it was really only like a BO kind of thing going on. Like, you just went for a jog and, you know, maybe for the last like 2 months and didn't put any deodorant on. But other than that, nope, I'm out here. I'm just living life. I'm loving life and living on fruits and cowfoot. And so I'm still a free agent for now, but tap back in with me in the future and I might have something for you.
Okay, so that's 3 raving recommendations from us. Go see The People's Joker. Support the film financially. And if you see a trans person on the street, just give them all the money in your wallet. Because they've had a harder life than you.
Yeah.
Almost certainly harder. Bye, everybody.
Oh, peace.
See ya.